Yo, buckle up, because I'm about to break down chapters 1 through 7 of Fever 1793 by Laurie House Anderson like it's a gossip sesh at a cafe table. Imagine me spilling all the tea about the 1793 drama like your bestie who just binged a season of something juicy and can't shut up about it. Ready? Let's roll. Okay, so first, meet Matilda Mattie Cook, our girl who's living in Philadelphia back when powdered wigs were the height of fashion and everyone's still figuring out hygiene. Maddie's 14, full of sass, and not here for her mom, Lucille's, strict vibes. Lucille is basically the OG helicopter parent, always nagging Mattie to be a proper lady and take the family coffeehouse biz seriously. Maddie's just trying to daydream about freedom and maybe Nathaniel Benson, a cute painter boy with a grin so charming he could sell NFTs of it if they existed back then. The Cook family runs this coffeehouse where all the neighborhood tea, not the kind you drink, gets spilled. The spot's bustling, thanks to Eliza, their chef, who's straight up MVP status. She's warm, wise, and brings flavors that slap so hard, you'd think she invented the Philly cheesesteak before its time. Eliza is also free black, which is a big deal in this era because history wasn't exactly the best teammate for people of color. Now Maddie's life is pretty routine, work the coffeehouse, dodge chores, and occasionally spar with her grumpy grandpa, Captain Cook. He's an old war vet who loves telling stories and doting on Mattie when her mom's too busy playing drill sergeant. Everything seems normal, but trust me, this isn't some 1793 version of a sitcom. There's a storm brewing, and spoiler alert, it ain't the weather. Philadelphia's summer is hitting global warming simulation levels of hot, and people are getting weirdly sick. Like, dropping like flies sick. Rumors start swirling about yellow fever, but most folks are like, nah, can't be. Denial? Stronger than Maddie's will to dodge her chores. Then BAM. One of the neighborhood regulars, Polly, suddenly dies. Polly was Maddie's friend, someone she joked and dreamed with. Polly dying hits Mattie hard, but Lucille goes full buzzkill mode, banning Mattie from attending the funeral because, in her words, we don't mess with sickness. Cue Maddie's frustration reaching Goku-going Super Saiyan levels. Maddie's also starting to notice weird vibes around the city. Rich folks are packing their carriages and dipping to the countryside like it's the latest influencer getaway. Meanwhile, the market's turning into a ghost town. This all gets mixed with her usual grind, getting yelled at by her mom for minor stuff like letting apples rot. Maddie's just trying to have a snack, but Lucille acts like the world's ending every time Mattie breathes wrong. Honestly, their relationship could headline a reality show, strict mom versus teen queen. Amid all this, Nathaniel sneaks back into the story, pulling some classic rom-com moves by tossing flirty remarks Maddie's way. He's a whole mood, painting signs and Loki asking Mattie out to see the balloons launch. Yep, balloons were apparently a big deal in the 1700s. Maddie's heart is doing that anime sparkle thing, but Lucille, naturally, ruins the moment by forbidding her to hang out with Nathaniel. This girl cannot catch a break. And then, like a boss battle Mattie didn't see coming, her mom gets sick. It's not just a cold, Lucille starts burning up and looking like death warmed over. Panic mode, activated. Grandpa decides Mattie should eat out of town to avoid getting infected. But getting out of the city during a literal fever apocalypse? Easier said than done. By this point, Maddie's realizing yellow fever isn't just something happening out there. It's personal, and it's terrifying. Eliza steps in like the hero we don't deserve but definitely need. She helps hold down the fort as Mattie and Grandpa prep to head to the countryside. Eliza's got this unshakable determination that makes you think, yeah, she'd survive a zombie apocalypse with zero casualties. Meanwhile, Maddie's trying to keep her cool, even though her world's unraveling faster than a cheap ball of yarn. On the way out of Philly, things take a sharp left turn when Mattie and Grandpa run into roadblocks, literally and figuratively. Turns out, people are so scared of the fever spreading, they're not letting travelers through without a full health check. It's like trying to sneak past an overpowered NPC guard in a stealth game, but instead of swords, these guys have questions and quarantine rules. So yeah, by the time Chapter 7 rolls credits, Maddie's life is a hot mess. Polly's gone, her mom's super sick, the city's falling apart, and she's stuck in the middle of it all with Grandpa. But here's the thing about Mattie, under all that teenage angst and sarcasm, she's got grit. You can tell she's ready to level up, even if she doesn't know it yet. That's the 411 on chapters 1 through 7. It's historical fiction, but the stakes feel as real as losing your Wi-Fi mid-game. Maddie's world might be spinning out of control, but you're rooting for her to keep grinding and, hopefully, make it to a better save point. Alright, squad, let's dive into chapters 8 to 10 of Fever 1793, where things really start to heat up, and not in a poolside summer vacation kinda way. Picture this, you're a teenager living your 18th century life, and suddenly your world feels more like The Last of Us, but with no Pedro Pascal to save the day. That's the energy we're rolling with as Maddie's journey levels up into pure chaos. So, Mattie and her grandpa are finally hitting the road, trying to escape Philly and all the plague vibes that have everyone freaking out. Grandpa's all about this plan of heading to the countryside, where it's supposedly chill and fever-free. He's got his soldier energy going strong, barking orders like they're in some old-school strategy game, and Maddie's just tagging along, hoping for a break from all the madness. But let's be real, this girl's life doesn't do chill. The ride out of the city is a total vibe check, and not the good kind. Imagine them clunking along in this janky wagon like they're an Oregon Trail, except instead of dysentery, everyone's side-eyeing each other for signs of the fever. Every cough is SUS. Maddie's trying to keep it together, but the tension? Thick enough to cut with a butter knife. It's like the whole world is glitching out, and the usual rules no longer apply. As they roll through the countryside, things get dicey. They're stopped by these farmers acting like the gatekeepers of a high-level dungeon. These dudes are hardcore, armed, and not about to let anybody pass unless they can prove they're not carrying the fever. Grandpa, bless his old-school bravery, tries to reason with them, but these guys are not playing. It's like trying to persuade a final boss without any charisma points. No dice. They basically kick Mattie and Grandpa out like, sorry, not sorry, but y'all gotta bounce. So there they are, stranded in the middle of nowhere, and the vibes? Absolutely rancid. Mattie's struggling to keep her energy up, but the girl is running on fumes, no food, no water, just vibes and determination. Grandpa's trying to be all stoic and soldier-y, but even he's not immune to the fact that things are looking grim. And then, just when you think they might catch a break, Mattie wakes up to find Grandpa straight up KO'd on the ground. Panic mode, activated. Mattie's all alone in the wild, with her grandpa knocked out and the sun blazing down like it's trying to speedrun their demise. She goes full survival mode, scavenging for water like she's in Minecraft on hardcore difficulty. Finally, she finds this tiny stream and drinks up, even though it's got serious would-you-like a side of bacteria with that energy. Desperate times, right? But wait, it gets worse. Because of course it does. Mattie's body decides to betray her, and suddenly she's burning up with fever herself. Yep, the big bad yellow fever has entered the chat, and Mattie's not looking so hot. Well, actually, she's looking way too hot, like someone call Fire Force levels of burning up. She's barely hanging on, hallucinating and stumbling around like she's trapped in some fever dream version of Demon Slayer. And then, plot twist, Mattie wakes up to find herself in a whole new setting. Some kind strangers scooped her up and took her to a makeshift hospital, aka the closest thing to a safe zone in this plague-ridden nightmare. It's not exactly a luxury spa, more like a no-frills survival bunker where people are doing their best to help the sick. The nurses are these super tough, no-nonsense Quaker women who've clearly seen some things and are not here for Mattie's whining. They're like the NPCs who keep your health bar from hitting 0, but they also don't sugarcoat anything. Mattie's barely holding it together, her body weak and her mind a blur. But slowly, she starts to piece things back together. The fever's knocked her down, but it hasn't taken her out. These chapters show us that Mattie's got more resilience than she even knew, like she's discovering new abilities in her skill tree mid-battle. By the end of chapter 10, Mattie's still on shaky ground, but she's alive, and that's a win in this brutal world. Her relationship with Grandpa, her will to survive, and her growing awareness of just how much the fever is wrecking everyone's lives, it's all building up to something big. She's no longer just a teen trying to dodge chores and daydream about boys. She's leveling up into someone who can face the storm, even if she's not quite ready to admit it. And that, my friends, is the tea on chapters 8 to 10. The stakes are higher, the drama's more intense, and Mattie's journey is just getting started. Stick around, because you know things are only gonna get wilder from here. Alright, strap in, because we're diving into the gritty, feverish streets of 1793 Philadelphia, where chaos is popping off like an episode of Attack on Titan, and our girl Mattie is stuck right in the middle of it. By chapter 11, it's clear that this ain't some chill historical novel about making tea and embroidering. Nah, the stakes are high, and Mattie's whole world is going through a hardcore difficulty spike like she's suddenly in the final boss fight of Elden Ring with zero prep. So, here's the sitch. Philly is hotter than a gaming PC about to overheat, and the yellow fever epidemic is leveling up faster than any of us ever wanted. Chapter 11 starts with Mattie's mom, Lucille, who is down bad, like, really bad. Fever's got her in a chokehold, and it's all kinds of gnarly. Mattie is stuck trying to help, but she's just a teenager, not some 18th century Florence Nightingale. The neighbors? Useless. The doctors? Total clowns with their bleeding nonsense, which is basically the 1793 equivalent of turning off your console mid-save to fix it. Lucille is all, get out of here, Mattie. Save yourself. And Mattie's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're kicking me out? But low-key, she knows her mom's right. Staying in their fever-infested house would be like camping in The Last of Us without a flamethrower. So Mattie and their trusty cook/housekeeper/overall queen, Eliza, plan to yeet Mattie out of town to safety. Grandfather, the ex-soldier with big "I fought for George Washington, respect me" energy, tags along because, well, he's the grandpa MVP. Mattie and Grandfather hitch a ride out of the city with a farmer who's giving strong NPC energy, helpful but definitely not sticking around for the sequel. The vibe quickly shifts from road trip adventure to survival horror when Mattie gets super sick during the journey. Like, girl goes down hard. Fever hits her like a Rengoku-style flame-breathing attack, and she's basically out for the count. Grandfather tries his best, but let's be real, the dude is more of a strategic commander than a healer. Next thing you know, Mattie wakes up in the middle of Feverland, aka Bush Hill, a makeshift hospital for yellow fever patients. And y'all, this place is intense. Think of it as the 1793 version of a chaotic ER, but with less hygiene and more desperation. Mattie's in rough shape, but the doctors and nurses are actually kind of clutch. Shout out to Mrs. Flagg, the nurse with a heart of gold and a get-stuff-done attitude. She helps Mattie recover, and honestly, if this were a video game, Mrs. Flagg would be the healer everyone wants in their party. After some hardcore rest and recovery, Mattie is finally well enough to leave Bush Hill, but here's where the vibes go full-on Walking Dead. She and Grandfather head back to Philly, and the city is looking apocalyptic AF. Like, bodies in the streets, shops boarded up, and the smell? Apparently, it's a noob combo of death and despair. Mattie tries to keep her cool, but you know she's freaking out on the inside. Where's Eliza? What happened to their coffee house? Is this real life or a fever dream gone wrong? When they finally roll up to the coffee house, it's a whole mess. The place has been looted, and there's no sign of Lucille or Eliza. The food? Gone. The money? Also gone. Basically, Mattie and grandfather are on hardcore survival mode now. They start scavenging for food, doing their best to stay alive, and trying to make sense of this fever-ridden world. And then, just when things seem like they can't get worse, bam! A couple of dudes try to rob them. Straight-up bad guys who saw an old man and a teenage girl and thought, yeah, easy targets. Grandfather, being the ex-military legend he is, throws hands, and probably some epic shade, to protect Mattie. But he's old, and the fight takes a lot out of him. In true My Hero Academia style, he gives it his all, but the strain is just too much. Mattie ends up fending off the robbers, but the aftermath? It's devastating. Grandfather, her ride or die, her only family left, or so she thinks, passes away. It's a gut punch that hits harder than any plot twist in Attack on Titan. Mattie buries him herself, and the scene is heart-wrenching. She's alone now, and for a hot second, it's like, how is this girl even still standing? But Mattie's not the type to just give up. She's got that main character energy that keeps her pushing forward, even when everything seems bleak. She decides to search for Eliza because if there's one person who can bring some light back into her world, it's Eliza. After wandering around the city, and probably avoiding fever zombies, let's be real, Mattie finally finds her. And y'all, it's like that moment in One Piece when the crew finally reunites. Emotional. Uplifting. Pure serotonin. Eliza is doing her thing, helping fever victims like the boss she is, and she's thrilled to see Mattie alive. Together, they form a squad, helping out where they can and trying to rebuild some semblance of normalcy in a world gone mad. By the end of chapter 17, Mattie's learned some hard truths about survival, resilience, and how to hold on to hope even when the world feels like it's straight out of a dystopian RPG. So yeah, that's where we're at. Mattie's gone from sheltered teen to straight-up warrior, fighting her way through one of the darkest chapters in Philly's history. And honestly, she's killing it, figuratively, of course. Stay tuned, because you know this story's about to get even wilder. Alright, let's get into chapters 18 through 22 of Fever 1793, where things go from oh no to absolutely unhinged. At this point, Mattie's already been through the ringer. She's lost her mom, maybe, her granddad, definitely, and any semblance of normal life. Philly's still a hot mess, like the aftermath of a failed Minecraft raid, but somehow, our girl keeps leveling up her survival skills. Honestly, if Mattie were in Demon Slayer, she'd have unlocked a breathing technique by now because this girl is grinding hard against the odds. So Mattie and Eliza link up, and it's like an Avengers Assemble moment, two badasses against the fever apocalypse. Eliza's been working with the Free African Society, saving lives left and right like a true hero. And Mattie? She's ready to throw down and help, too. Even though she's still reeling from, burying grandfather with her own two hands, she doesn't have time to wallow. There are too many people in need, and Mattie is all about that we move energy. Eliza and Mattie head into the thick of it, helping families crushed by the fever. It's grabby work, like cleaning up after a Call of Duty zombie mission gone sideways, but they're determined to do what they can. One of the toughest parts is seeing how bad it's gotten for the kids. Families are dropping like flies, and the streets are full of orphans, kids barely holding on, scared, hungry, and sick. Mattie steps up big time when they stumble across twins, Robert and William, and their older sibling, Nell, who's like a tiny, adorable, traumatized shadow. Mattie adopts Nell on the spot because she's not about to leave this kid to fend for herself in Fever Town. Instant mom vibes unlocked. Now, here's where it gets intense. Taking care of sick kids in the middle of an epidemic is about as easy as beating a Dark Souls boss with one health potion. The fever is everywhere, and even Eliza, with her endless courage and iron will, is starting to look worn out. The duo brings the kids to Eliza's brother Joseph's house. He's been hit hard by the epidemic, too, but at least he's got a safe place to stay. The squad settles in, but it's not exactly cozy. More like the fever version of an Among Us lobby, everyone's trying their best, but disaster is lurking just around the corner. Of course, Mattie's worst fears come true when the kids start showing signs of the fever. Cue the Attack on Titan-style tension as Eliza and Mattie try to figure out what to do. The hospital is out of the question, too crowded and chaotic, so they opt for some homebrew remedies, 1793 style. Eliza's all about airing out the house and giving the kids plenty of fluids, while Mattie channels her inner healer. It's a grind, no cap, and every second feels like it could go either way. Meanwhile, the city itself is still wilding out. Fever victims are everywhere, but slowly, the chaos is starting to settle down. The cooler weather rolls in, and with it, a little hope. Like, imagine you're in a never-ending Fortnite battle royale, and suddenly, the storm starts shrinking in your favor. That's how it feels. People are cautiously stepping out of their houses, markets are opening back up, and the death toll is finally slowing. It's not exactly party time, but at least the vibe has shifted from impending doom to maybe we'll survive. Mattie and Eliza hustle to nurse the kids back to health, and let me tell you, it's a grind worthy of Stardew Valley. The sleepless nights, the constant worrying, the sheer exhaustion, it's a lot. But Mattie proves again and again that she's built different. This isn't the same girl who was whining about chores in chapter 1. This Mattie is a boss, fully in her element, even as she struggles. You can tell she's grown up in a way that's both inspiring and heartbreaking. She's seen too much, lost too much, but she refuses to give up. Not on Nell, not on the twins, not on Eliza. By the end of this stretch, there's finally a break in the fever madness. It's like when you've been grinding a dungeon in World of Warcraft for hours, and you finally reach the safe zone. People start returning to Philly, including the wealthier folks who dipped when things got rough. I roll. Among them is Matilda's mother, who comes back looking like she's been through her own personal Naruto training arc. Lucille's alive, barely, but she's a shadow of her former self, weak and fragile from her battle with the fever. It's a bittersweet reunion because, yeah, Mattie's thrilled her mom's not dead, but it's clear that their lives are forever changed. Mattie, though? She's not the same kid her mom remembers. She's a leader now, someone who's faced the worst and come out stronger. You can see it in how she carries herself, how she takes charge, how she refuses to let the fever define her or her city. And that's the real glow up here. Mattie's not just surviving, she's building something better, something stronger, one step at a time. So yeah, that's chapters 18 through 22. It's a wild ride, full of heartbreak, hope, and a ton of grit. If Mattie Cook isn't one of the realest protagonists out there, I don't know who is. Stay tuned because you just know she's got more moves to make. Alright, buckle up, because chapters 23 to 26 of Fever 1793 are a mix of hardcore survival skills, major boss energy, and some heartwarming moments that hit you right in the feels. At this point, Mattie has officially evolved from kind of spoiled teenager to stone-cold hero with zero chill for nonsense. She's holding it down for her makeshift family like she's the captain of her own squad in a high-stakes RPG. Think The Witcher, but make it historical and give Geralt a fever-ravaged coffeehouse to rebuild. So, here's the deal, the fever is finally winding down, and Philly is crawling out of the ashes like a phoenix with trust issues. People are coming back to the city, trying to pick up the pieces of their lives, but it's not exactly all sunshine and rainbows. The streets still look like a scene out of The Walking Dead, and everyone's either traumatized, broke, or both. But Mattie? She's not here to cry about it. She's got big plans and an I'll-do-it-myself vibe that would make Thanos jealous. First things first, Mattie makes the bold move to reopen the coffeehouse. Yeah, you heard me right. While most people are out here just trying to survive, Mattie's like, nah, I'm about to build an empire. She teams up with Eliza, and together, they start scrubbing, organizing, and hustling to get the place back in shape. It's not easy, there's broken furniture, missing supplies, and a serious lack of paying customers, but Mattie is on her grind like she just unlocked a new skill tree in Assassin's Creed. She's putting in the work, and you can tell she's got that main character energy now. Meanwhile, Mattie is still taking care of Nell, the adorable kid she basically adopted during the fever madness. Nell's been through it, but Mattie's not letting this little girl feel abandoned for even a second. It's like watching a character in Demon Slayer find their purpose, not slaying demons this time, but creating a safe, warm home for a kid who needs it. Every interaction between Mattie and Nell is wholesome AF, and it's clear Mattie's stepping into a mom role with zero hesitation. But wait, there's more. Just when you think Mattie's got enough on her plate, who shows up but Nathaniel Benson? You remember Nathaniel, right? The artsy boy with the flirty smile who's been crushing on Mattie since, like, chapter 1? Well, he's back, and let me tell you, the man is down bad. He's been painting and surviving the fever, and now he's ready to slide back into Mattie's life like a Twitter DM at 2 a.m. Mattie plays it cool, but you know there's chemistry. Their banter is on point, giving off strong Heartstopper vibes, but with way more historical trauma. With the coffeehouse back in business, Mattie and Eliza start attracting customers again. The energy shifts big time, people are coming together, sharing stories, and trying to rebuild their community. It's like when the crew in Avatar, The Last Airbender regroups after a tough fight. You can feel the hope creeping back in, even if things are still a little shaky. Mattie even starts learning more about running the business, proving she's got the smarts and grit to handle it. She's not just surviving anymore, she's thriving. But the real mic drop moment comes when Mattie makes a decision that cements her as an absolute legend. Eliza suggests that Mattie sell the coffeehouse and start fresh somewhere else, maybe live a quieter life. And you know what Mattie says? Nah, I'm staying right here. This girl has been through the fever, lost her family, and seen her world flipped upside down, but she's not about to dip. She's ready to plant her flag and own her space. It's a move so bold it feels like she just completed a final boss fight in Elden Ring without taking a single hit. As the chapter wraps up, you can feel the momentum building. Mattie's coffeehouse is becoming more than just a business, it's a symbol of hope and resilience for the whole community. She's gone from being a kid who just wanted to avoid chores to a straight-up icon who's taking charge and making moves. And honestly, if you're not rooting for Mattie Cook at this point, what are you even doing? So yeah, that's where we're at. Mattie's rebuilding her life, taking care of Nell, and showing the whole city that she's a force to be reckoned with. Philly might still be a mess, but with Mattie in charge, you know things are only going up from here. Alright, let's wrap this wild ride of Fever 1793 in style, because chapters 27 to 29 and the epilogue are where Mattie fully cements herself as the goat of Philly's post-fever chaos. By this point, she's leveled up so much, she's practically a boss character herself. Her coffeehouse is up and running, she's raising Nell like a pro, and she's basically carrying the whole city's morale on her back. If Mattie were in an anime, this is where the montage music kicks in, and she's walking through the streets while everything she's worked for falls into place. So, let's get into it. The fever is officially gone, like, game over, the final boss has been defeated, and now it's time to clean up the battlefield. But that doesn't mean things are all rainbows and sunshine. People are coming back to Philly, but they're bringing their drama with them. Among the crowd? Mattie's mom, Lucille. And when I say she's not looking great, I mean she's basically doing her best tragic anime mom impression. She's weak, tired, and clearly not the same woman who used to run the coffeehouse like a boss. Mattie, on the other hand, is now fully in charge. She welcomes her mom home with all the love and care in the world, but it's clear who's calling the shots now. Mattie's not the same girl who was sneaking extra naps and dodging chores at the start of the book. She's got big CEO energy now, running the coffeehouse, taking care of Nell, and making sure her mom is comfortable. It's like watching someone win a speedrun of adulting, and Mattie does it with style. The coffeehouse, by the way, is thriving. It's the spot where everyone comes to eat, chill, and trade news about how they survived the fever apocalypse. Nathaniel is there, of course, with his paintbrushes and smooth one-liners, doing his best to flirt while also being low-key supportive. He's like the love interest in a Genshin Impact questline, charming, steady, and just enough of a distraction without taking over the story. Mattie handles him with the perfect mix of sass and warmth, proving that she's got game both in business and in life. As the days roll on, you can feel the vibe shift. Philly is healing, and Mattie is at the center of it all, holding things together like she's the glue that's keeping the whole city from falling apart again. She's even thinking about the future, making plans to expand the coffeehouse and keep it popping for years to come. It's like she's building her own little empire, brick by brick, and no one's stopping her now. The epilogue ties everything together with a perfect bow. Mattie wakes up early one morning, grabs Nell, and heads to the market. The sun is shining, the air is crisp, and for the first time in forever, Philly feels alive again. There's a sense of peace, like the city has finally exhaled after holding its breath for so long. Mattie takes it all in, appreciating how far she's come and everything she's survived. She's no longer just surviving, she's thriving. She's got her coffeehouse, her family, and a whole city that looks to her as a symbol of hope. In the end, Mattie proves that she's more than just a girl who lived through a nightmare. She's a fighter, a caretaker, and a straight-up legend. If this were a video game, she'd have unlocked every achievement by now, including the secret ones. Fever 1793 isn't just about surviving a pandemic, it's about growing up, stepping up, and proving that even when life hits you with the worst, you can come out the other side stronger. And Mattie cook? She absolutely crushed it.